watts per kilo. Now, I've been raising my watts per kilo, and I've been doing it, I think, in a healthy and sustainable way. Now, I've got my neon green top. Hopefully you can see me, because you might be able to hear in the background. It was a beautiful first sort of spring day here in the UK, so it was at time of filming, beginning of March. It was very warm yesterday, 15-16 degrees in the UK for the beginning of March, and now it's gone back to wet and cold and dark and miserable. So I've got my high vis, be seen, always be seen. But watts per kilo, we'll stay focused on watts per kilo for this video. So if you find the information in this video helps you, and when I say you, it can be for most people, but maybe specifically people who are looking to increase their watts per kilo for racing, for road races or time trials, or just to feel faster on the bike. So at time of filming right now, I was 63.9 kilos this morning, and I'm 5'11", and I didn't used to be that lean, as lean as I am. I used to be a few years ago about 70 kilos, and yeah, I would pay for it whenever the road went up. So I see a lot of confusion and a lot of upset around watts per kilo or weight for cycling, and it doesn't have to be. And I know that it does exist because I used to be in that camp. I wanted to be leaner. At first I didn't really think about it, but then as it got more and more important, which it is if you want to perform, then yeah, I didn't know, and it took me years to work it out. But now I eat generally the same things every day. I don't count calories, okay? I don't count calories. Crazy, isn't it? And I eat the same staple foods now every day that allows me to, well, firstly I've lost weight, and now I'm always lean. And I'll take you through how I've done it, okay? And it might surprise you, might not, but we'll talk about it, and then we'll all get faster at the end of the day. So it's good, isn't it? So yeah, I used to be heavier than I am now a few years ago, but now, as I say, the foods that I eat have allowed me to be lean. And it's not about doing excessive exercise in order to try and burn off all of this weight, so we'd say fat, wouldn't we? All this excess fat. Well, in front of me I have a selection of some of the staple foods that I go to every day. So I think first of all, the most important one is rice. And I suppose I might show you how, lean I am. I have to like kneel down. I don't know if you can see that I'm always lean like this. Almost to be back in. I'm always lean like this, and now I don't find it difficult, whereas in the past I did, because I was confused. I was confused about what I should be eating from all of the different messages that I've kept hearing, and these sort of sound bites of, oh, you just burn it off. I hear that so many times. You just burn it off through exercise. Well, most people I see who want to be leaner are exercising, but they can never burn off the excess fat because they're eating too much, and I'll get onto that in a moment. So I have rice for breakfast, lunch and tea. So white rice, and maybe just thinking off the top of my head, I usually eat just to feel full, so maybe 400 to 500 grams each meal of cooked white rice, and I have that with a tomato sauce. So nice tomato sauce that's herbs and spices, and that's my go-to staples for breakfast, lunch and tea. And then on top of that I'll have something like this. So I've had my breakfast this morning of rice, and then as a snack, this is what's left. I'm just eating this. It's a watermelon, and I'm having that as a snack between my breakfast and my lunch. And I just to say, eat to feel full. So I've eaten the rest of it, and I've got about that much left. So I'll just eat that after I finish this video. So that's sort of the off the bike nutrition, that I focus mainly on the rice as my fuel source, and then supplement it with fruit on top, and then sugar. So we've got the leftover of some sucrose here from it being full. So this is usually always full, always topping it up, and I put that in my bottles. So I have at least, through either sugar or sugary sweets, at least 100 grams an hour of sugar, whether that's a 1 hour ride or 7 hour ride or whatever it might be. So always at least 100 grams of sugar an hour. Why has this made me leaner? Well, I like to try and keep these videos accessible to everyone. And firstly, I show what I have, and I show myself, and you can see that it works for me, and I'm just, I think, a normal person. So if it works for me, it'll work for you. And I explain it just simply enough to show that it does make sense. So the science, or whatever, the knowledge behind it. So these foods are very naturally low in fat. So the rice, usually about half a gram of fat per 100 grams. The sugar has no fat in it because it's just a macro, the macro, it's just sugar. And again, the fruit, it's sugary. I think fruits, if you want to get enough sugar, so carbohydrates, so in this form starch, I think starch should be your main focus to get enough carbohydrate, and then just to fill the gaps, and also, you know, it's got micronutrients and everything in there. And the foods that I avoid, so I don't eat these are more just props. Okay, so we're talking about watts per kilo. So I've talked about the kilo in the watts per kilo equation, but we'll dissect. When should you stop taking away kilos? Because there is a good range where too little kilos, you're too lean, you'll start losing watts. So too much, too little, there's a optimum. Okay, so to keep the weight coming down until you find the optimum, I avoid foods like this. So these are very fatty. So for example, per 100 grams, almost 25 grams of fat. And I say I used to enjoy stuff like this, but in the past, and I think it does have its moments, and I'll get onto that in a moment. And again, these crisps here, these have got 30 grams of fat per 100 grams. So eating foods like that in just one day, for example, talking about the kilo of the watt per kilo equation. For example, if I had a bag of crisps, so this bag has 150 grams, so there's 45 grams of fat in this one bag. So to eat the same amount of fat as I would in one bag of crisps from sustaining myself on rice, fruit and sugar, that would be probably the equivalent of about a month's worth, just off the top of my head, in terms of how much fat I'm taking in. So I'm not worrying about having to burn off excess fat because I don't have these foods, and to be honest with you, I don't miss them. Just because I eat these and I enjoy these enough to not need to eat stuff like that. However, when you are eating foods like this, it can come to the point where if you're putting exercise on top, so firstly, if you watch this, you've got to this point in the video, you can create this lifestyle where you're becoming lean for peak performance, which can take, depending on obviously how much weight you want to lose, will take you months and years from now if you're doing it to eating to being full rather than counting calories where you're in starvation. So I don't starve myself. I've just eaten these foods till I feel full every day for the last few years, and now I'm the weight that I am. And yeah, it takes a while if you do it in a healthy way that's not detrimental to your health. So for me, now that I'm at my weight, so about 64 kilos at the moment, fluctuating a little bit around that, I don't exactly know what my peak watts per kilo is, but I know when I will be too lean, and that's when, because I use a power meter, my power will start either leveling off or dropping down to the same effort that it maybe a month ago I would have been doing, at least, or more power. So that's when you know that you're getting too lean, is if you have a power meter, and you should always use a power meter, even if you're not a racer. It's just a good way to know if you're performing or not. It's a good way to test rather than just feel, because if you can feel good or bad one day and your power might be the same or worse. Even on a day when you feel better, your power might be worse on a day that you felt bad. So you need to use a power meter. That's for another video. You can add foods back in to your diet like this every so often when your weight is getting too low. And I say that the way you know is because your power starts dropping off. So that's how you know. So I can have, if I wanted to, because I use a power meter, my watts aren't going down, they're either staying the same or going up. So, for example, training over the winter, if I was doing, maybe a 5-6 hour ride, I can ride at 250, 260 watts, and that feels okay. Starts to hurt at the end. And maybe a 10-minute power 350, 360, for example. And now that it's getting ready for the road racing season, I focus on doing big time efforts. Over the winter I did I think a good number of miles, but now that it's getting to race season, I'm really focusing on that watts per kilo, and this is how I'm doing it. I'm doing it without counting calories, which doesn't work. It doesn't work. And burning off fat doesn't work, okay? Counting calories and just burning off fat, these things don't work, because all I ever see is people who are overweight saying this is how it works for them, and they're not. And then maybe when they just about reach their goal of weight, they've starved themselves so much of the essential carbohydrates, foods that you just get through this diet, that they then suddenly jump on foods like this because they just need to stuff themselves because they've been eating in an unhealthy way. Okay, so if this information helped, I hope I put it succinctly, then like and subscribe, and I'll do other videos. I'll do one on power meters. They're very important. You should always use one. But I eat like this every day, these staples, and I avoid stuff like this. And every so often I can have it. In fact, I can eat these as much as I want when I want to add weight back on. Okay. So if you don't eat the fat that you want to burn off, then you don't need to burn off the fat that you haven't eaten. So the fat you eat is the fat you wear. I didn't make up that term, but it's a good term to remember when you're about to eat something like this. Okay. So I'll see you in the next one, and thank you for your time. Ciao.